It was 3 years ago. I was living in a city renowned for its nightlife, filled with vibrant bars and pulsing music. I loved it, but one night, my perspective of the city completely changed. It was a usual Friday night hanging out with friends at our favorite dive bar. We stayed until closing, a little past 2 in the morning. My apartment was just a few blocks away, so I decided to walk home. I'd done it a million times before, but this time it was different. The streets were virtually empty, save for the occasional car or two. Halfway through my journey, I noticed a beat-up, white van idling by the side of the road. I didn't think much of it, but as I walked past, I felt a chilling sense of unease. Suddenly, the van's engine revved, and it pulled up beside me. The windows were tinted, dark, obstructing the inside. My heart pounded in my chest as the passenger door slowly cracked open. Panicked, I picked up my pace, trying to keep my cool. But then a man leaped out of the van and started chasing me. He was large and imposing, screaming at me to stop. The eeriness of the situation was paralyzing, but survival instinct kicked in. I ran as fast as my legs could carry me, clutching my keys between my fingers as a makeshift weapon. He was right behind me, his shouts echoing in the empty street. I whipped out my phone, dialed 911, and shoved it into my pocket without hanging up. Seeing a narrow alley up ahead, I darted down it, hoping to lose him. The alley twisted and turned, and I managed to put some distance between us. As I rounded another corner, I saw it, a group of late-night workers unloading a delivery truck. Without stopping to explain, I sprinted towards them. The man chasing me skid to a halt. Seeing that I was no longer alone, he spun around and retreated back to the alley. Breathless and terrified, I explained what happened, and the workers who immediately called the cops. When they arrived, I handed my phone, which had captured most of the chase. They found the van abandoned a few blocks away with rope and duct tape inside. It was a planned abduction. The man, however, was never found. Story 2. Last year, when I was living on the outskirts of Chicago, I worked late nights at a local bar, and usually I catch the bus home. But that night, the bus broke down, and my only other option was to walk 3 miles back to my apartment. It was risky, but I figured I'd done it countless times in daylight. How different could it be? I started walking, sticking to the well-lit main roads. But then, about halfway through, a red sedan drove past me, slowed down, and stopped a little bit ahead. Instantly, I felt uneasy. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe they were lost and needed directions. As I approached, the driver door opened. The man stepped out. He was tall, shrouded in darkness, the streetlights reflecting off his glasses. He leaned against his car, watching me approach. My heart pounded out of my chest, but I kept walking, deciding to cross the road. Suddenly, he called out, "Hey, you need a ride?" His voice was calm, almost friendly, but it sent shivers down my spine. I declined and quickened my pace. That's when I heard the car start and watched as it slowly rolled down the road, following me. My heart was racing. I decided to turn onto the side street, hoping to lose him in the maze of residential buildings. But the car continued to follow, growing closer. The man called out again, his voice now impatient. "Get in the car." Fear gave me adrenaline, and I started running. I heard a door slam and risked a look back to see him running after me. Panic stirs through me, and I pulled out my phone. As I was running, I dropped my phone. It was either grab my phone or continue running. The man was closing closer to me every second. I continued running, and I seen a 24-hour laundromat, brightly lit, a lone worker folding clothes inside. I sprinted towards it, praying the doors were unlocked. I burst in, startling the worker. I managed to explain the situation in between ragged breaths, just as the man appeared in the window. Seeing me speaking to somebody, the man ran and left. That's my story, a close call, a nightmare that could have turned real. Story 3. It was a 3-day trip, and I was well prepared with my camping gear and my provisions. The first day was incredible, clear skies, breathtaking views, and a peaceful solitude of nature. I set up camp near a small stream, feeling completely at ease. The second day, though, things took a little turn. As I hiked further into the wilderness, I noticed a figure in the distance, a man standing still and watching me. An uneasy feeling settled over me, but I waved, assuming that he was just another hiker. He didn't wave back. I continued my hike, but I couldn't shake the sense that I was being watched. I would occasionally catch glimpses of the man, always at a distance, always watching me. The trails were long and winding, so oftentimes it was hard to see from a distance, but every now and then I would get a glimpse of him during the straight long stretches, or when he was standing on a ridge. By nightfall, I was genuinely frightened. I decided to set up camp in a densely wooded area, hoping the trees would provide some cover, but as the night grew darker, I heard footsteps outside my tent. Holding my breath, I listened to the footsteps circle around, coming closer and then moving away, a predator stalking its prey. Then they stopped. A shadow fell across my tent, a man's silhouette. In a moment of pure terror, I remember the emergency whistle in my backpack. I found it. I took a deep breath and blew as loud as I could. The high-pitched sound echoed through the silent woods, and the shadow outside my tent hastily retreated. I stayed awake the whole night, clutching my whistle. As soon as dawn broke, I packed up my things and started making my way back, constantly looking over my shoulder. The man was nowhere in sight, but the eerie feeling of being watched lingered. When I finally reached the ranger station, I reported the incident, but all they found was a makeshift campsite near my original location, abandoned and eerily quiet. That's my story. A close call, a reminder that danger lurks in the most unexpected places. Now I never hike alone, and I always make sure someone knows my route. Safety in numbers, right? The wilderness is beautiful, but remember, it can also be terrifying.